Welcome back, everybody. Today is 10th of October. Now it's about 12 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time, and this is second news update, if I may say, or second part of the first update. In any case, there are quite a few important developments that Russian media is reported about, and I will start with this news from Vzгляд newspaper, according to which Kiev regime is ready to declare ceasefire on a line of contact if certain demands of Kiev will be met by the West, by the way, which is quite interesting. And these demands are Ukraine's accepsion into EU and some other points. Let's translate this news for more details. So Ukraine has expressed its readiness to ceasefire along the current front line without recognizing border changes, counting on security guarantees from the United States and soon joining the EU or fast-tracking of their Ukraine's membership in EU. The Corriere della Sera newspaper reported, I guess this is a Spanish newspaper, I'm not sure about it, but anyways, let's go through news. So publication writes that Kyiv is considering the possibility of a ceasefire in exchange of security guarantees from the United States and a quick admission to the EU as a part of European tour that includes Paris, Rome and Berlin. Vladimir Zelensky seeks to enlist the support of European partners, reports TASS news agency on that. Newspaper also writes that Zelensky actively indicates his desire to find ways out of the conflict that will not bring Ukraine to its knees. As noted in the publication, the Ukrainian armed forces are trapped in the Kursk region and cannot come to their aid of Donbass, where Russian forces are superior to Ukrainian ones. So Zelensky must convince European countries of his political plans. So, dear friends, it seems like Western ruling class in some ways and their proxies in Kiev are basically struggling with their own ideas and plans, because on daily basis now we are receiving news from different media outlets that are kind of contradicting each other. Because in today's first update, in the first part, I spoke about statements of Zelensky that he thinks some decisive actions will be taken by Kyiv regime, its forces, and they will be able to end this conflict in 2025, in a couple of months' time. And now we have this report, which is also originated from the Western media, that Kyiv regime is ready for a ceasefire, although they want some security guarantees from US and Ukraine, whatever they mean under such a name, Ukraine, to join EU. Interesting. It seems like definitely there are some chaos among Western political class and their proxies in Kyiv, and room for maneuver for them is definitely shrinking due to significant Russian successes on the line of contact and on the international stage. When it comes to topic itself, Ukraine never gonna become a member of the NATO. Some parts of Ukraine, western region of Ukraine, western regions may become eventually part of EU after will be reclaimed by Poland or Hungary or Romania, but rest of the Ukraine, rest of the so-called Ukraine, no, never. And no matter what kind of guarantees by this administration or next administration in US gonna give Zelensky or anybody else in Kiev, it will change nothing, literally nothing in this regard. But it is interesting that seems like there is some chaos among Western ruling class and the Kyiv regime, and even panic, if I may say this way. Anyways, let's continue. Glad newspaper is also reporting that, well, a French media outlet, Le Monde, quite a big name if I'm not mistaken in France, is reporting about connections of the Kiev regime and their terrorist groups that are operating in Africa, which is quite interesting because Western media almost never writes anything about terrorist activity of the Kiev regime, right? Although, of course, I reported many times before about connections that the Kiev regime has with terrorist organizations in Africa and also in the Middle East. There are actually factual information on that. There are photos, right, of contact between Kiev regime's representatives and the terrorist organizations and so on. But Western media ignore this topic completely, at least until now. So Ukrainian military intelligence has been cooperating with the terrorists from the Malian armed groups since 2024, training them in the production and the use of drones. The French newspaper Le Monde reported, according to the publication, cooperation between Ukraine and Malian terrorists began in 2024 and was the result of rapprochement after the capture of the city of Kidal by the Malian army in November 2023. The newspaper's sources claim that in early 2024, several militants from the Malian Separatist Alliance, CSP-DPA, arrived in Ukraine via Mauritania. There, in Ukraine, these terrorists were trained in the production and use of drones. Then, in March, the next stage of their training took place in the Daudeni region. RIA Novosti reports the newspaper quotes an unnamed source close to the Ukrainian main intelligence directorate as confirming that the group of militants was trained in Ukraine and Ukrainian instructors went to the Sahel region to continue working with the terrorists and are still there. The representatives of the GUR, main intelligence directorate of the Defense Ministry of Kiev regime, Andrei Yusov, called this cooperation a diplomatic mistake, but said that the course of the Kiev remains the same opposition to the activities of the Wagner group in any place. So they are justifying their cooperation with the terrorists by opposing Russia or Wagner that are fighting terrorists. That's quite something, isn't it? I don't know how many people in the West will read their article in Le Monde, how many people in the West are informed enough about terrorist activity of the Kiev regime and their Western backers. But it is interesting. It is interesting that Western media outlet is writing about it. Also, dear friends, we have RT's report that Israel is threatening Iran with a DPS strike. So Israel's response to the Iranian missile attack will be deadly, pinpoint accurate, and surprising. Defense Minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, has stated Tehran's missile barrage pummeled Israel earlier this month in what was said to be reprisal for the killing of the heads of Hamas and Hezbollah, as well as general of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. The Iranian attack was aggressive but inaccurate, Gallant stated, which is not true, actually. I don't know who Defense Minister of Israel is trying to fool by making such a statement, but recent Iranian strike definitely was quite accurate, and there are videos on internet, isn't it? Plenty of videos when you clearly see dozens of Iranian missiles are actually bypassing air defense systems and are hitting their targets. And also there are satellite imagery that is circulating on internet on which you can clearly see how accurate actually these Iranian strikes were, because several military bases were targeted, and on those satellite imagery you can clearly see damaged facilities in which Israeli Air Force were storing its planes, including F-35s. So Gallant is definitely not honest while making such a statement, but anyways, let's continue. In contrast, our attack will be deadly, pinpoint accurate, and most importantly surprising. They will not know what happened or how it happened. They will just see results. Gallant was speaking to Intelligence Unit 9900 in the Israel Defense Force, charged with visual intelligence collection and analysis. He credited work of this unit with Israel's Air Force and ability to see very precisely and in every place what they want to see, according to Jerusalem Post. So yes, there are threats from Iran, threats from Israel towards Iran, and well, we have additional information about developments in Iran itself, when a significant number of MPs yesterday basically demanded from Security Council of the country to allow Iran to acquire nuclear weapons. And now we have this report from RIA Novosti that Iran may withdraw from treaty of non-proliferation of their nuclear weapons, which is definitely a big deal. So Iran may withdraw from the treaty on a non-proliferation of the nuclear weapons aimed at expectations of the strike from Israel. Member of the Parliamentary Commission on National Security and Foreign Policy, Aliaddin Borujerdi, told the RIA Novosti, discussing their option of the withdrawing from the treaty on non-proliferation of the nuclear weapons is actually a serious debate in their parliament. Deputies are seriously considering their possibility of making such a decision, he stated, and obviously this is a big deal because as I reported yesterday, some 39 members of the Iranian parliament already asked Security Council to allow Iran to make all the necessary steps to allow Iran to acquire nuclear weapons. And now we have statements that Iran may withdraw from this treaty on non-proliferation of the nuclear weapons, which clearly indicates that there are at least some forces in Iran. I cannot tell you how powerful these forces are, but clearly there are some groups that sees nuclear weapons as only effective deterrence against Israeli aggression. And this is dangerous. This is obviously dangerous because maybe before very our eyes, ground being laid down for Iran to become a nuclear state, nuclear armed state. And in the very first day, when the world will find out that Iran has nuclear weapons, if it will happen, we can say that a nuclear arms race has begun in the Middle East, and most likely at least Turkey and Saudi Arabia will do their best to also acquire nuclear weapons, which will make a region no any more safer, obviously, but such development will definitely not make any safer Israel. So therefore, I guess citizens of Israel definitely need to think about current developments. Do they really want several countries in the region that Israel currently are on a hostile in hostile relationships to acquire nuclear weapons? Will Israel be any more safer in that case if Iran, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia, for example, or maybe even some more countries will have nuclear weapons? I don't think Israel will be any safer in that case. So therefore, I don't know, maybe it is time for leadership of Israel, and especially for citizens of Israel, to realize how dangerous this constant escalation is, and maybe they will think about some necessary steps to be taken so that the situation will de-escalate. I don't know, but I mean, In any case, hardly anybody can argue that the region definitely would not be any more safer if number of countries will have nuclear weapons, especially when we know that these countries not necessarily are on friendly terms with each other. Not just with Israel, but also with each other. Although, of course, it is also the objective reality that due to Chinese diplomatic activity lately, Iran and Saudi Arabia clearly are making progress in relationships and are able to de-escalate. And Turkey is also significantly improve its relationships with Iran. But still, Interfax is reporting that, well, according to article in Bloomberg, despite the opposition from the Washington, Israel may still conduct strikes on nuclear facilities of Iran. And unfortunately, as we are receiving these informations from Iran about possible withdrawal of the country from treaty of non-proliferation of the nuclear weapons, and some MPs are demanding or at least asking, maybe demanding is a too strong a word, but asking Security Council to allow Iran to, acquire nuclear weapon, then obviously all this news makes risks ever more higher. Then Israel will definitely conduct a strike against Iran's nuclear facilities before Iran managed to build its nuclear weapons, which will be obviously total disaster for the region and for the world. Because I remind you, dear friends, when nuclear disaster happened in Chernobyl in Soviet Union, wind took radioactive particles as far as Norway and even Scotland, right? And therefore, if Israel will strike on Iran's nuclear facilities and there will be radioactive pollution, I mean, no one can say which direction wind will blow, and I guess no area in this world will be safe, especially areas in relatively closer proximity from the Iran. Entire Middle Eastern region, some territories of the Russia, or Southern Caucasus, or Central Asia, and Europe may also become vulnerable for radioactive pollution. So therefore, this is definitely issue that the entire world should be concerned with, right? But yet again, according to Bloomberg, despite the opposition from Washington, I don't know if we can trust this information that Washington is opposing Israel to strike nuclear facilities of Iran or not. I'm not quite sure about it, because Washington makes too many statements, but eventually Israel leadership does whatever they want anyways. One may wonder what kind of relationships US and Israel has, who is a most prominent power between these two. But anyways, unfortunately, there is a high risk, obviously, that world may end up not just in a regional war. World may face not just regional war in the Middle East, but also nuclear disaster. Also, we have Interfax news agency's report that according to IDF, Hezbollah launched about 360 different type of rockets in direction of Israel during the previous 24 hours, and at least 220 of these projectiles reach Israeli airspace. Majority of them, according to IDF, were intercepted, but not all of them. And there were videos on internet about explosions in different parts of Israel, in Haifa area, and some other Syrian authorities also reporting that Israel conducted yet another strike on Syria. So Israel is actually right now is conducting military operations in 3 directions, and they may start their military operations in 4th direction. One is Gaza Strip, obviously. Second is Lebanon. Israel is quite regularly targeting Syria, and are about to strike on Iran. So in Syria, dear friends, Israeli Air Force conducted the strikes on military, not military, but on a factory of the Sabah company, which is Iranian company. It's a машиностроительный завод. It's an equipment building plant. Let's translate this news. So Israeli Air Force planes struck an Iranian Sabah machine building plant in the industrial town of the Hasir in the Syria's province of Homs. The director of the industrial city of Hasir, armor or mayor of the city, I guess. This mechanical translation sometimes is just too bad. Armor Halil told the RIA Novosti, and according to some reports that I see, up to 10 people were killed during this attack on this manufacturing plant. Yet again, escalation, constant escalation, unfortunately, in the Middle East. TASS news agency is also reporting that foreign minister of the Russian Federation arrived in Laos to participate in 19th conference of the Southern Eastern Asia. Quite a busy schedule Russian diplomats have, isn't it? For a country that presumably should be isolated from the world, as Western propaganda loves to say, isn't it? And Western politicians. But anyways, let's translate this news a little more. And let's go through some details. Russian diplomats definitely are quite busy, by the way. They are constantly participating in different conferences worldwide. They're outside of tiny Western world, really. Tiny compared to the rest of the world. And Russia itself is hosting plenty of conferences, international events on regular basis. And just in a couple of weeks' time, Kazan BRICS summit will take place. And I expect some very important, significant decisions to be announced during that summit, especially on the topic of creation of alternative financial and banking system, alternative to the extremely weaponized Western one, which is so important for the world economy right now that you cannot overestimate this importance. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has arrived in Vienna, where he will take part in the 19th East Asia Summit in Vientiane. That's how it sounds, I guess, Vientiane. To participate in 19th East Asia Summit, the TASS correspondent reports the Russian minister is scheduled to address summit on Friday, October 11th. Lavrov will also have several bilateral meetings. The East Asia Summit is held annually in conjunction with the ASEAN meeting in 2020. In 2005, 2010, 16 ASEAN plus 3 member states, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, the Philippines, Brunei, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, China, the Republic of Korea, and Japan were represented, and Australia, India, and New Zealand joined them. Russia and the United States have been participating in the EAS summit since 2011. So interesting. Let's see what additional news we will receive from Laos about this summit and meetings between different delegations, including Russian one. Also interesting news, dear friends, that Russia has ended foreign adoptions, according to MP. So the adoption of the Russian children by foreign nationals has been completely halted, according to Anna Kuznetsova, deputy speaker of the lower house, the country's State Duma. Foreign adoption rates have steadily decreased over the past decade. The number has dropped from 529 Russian children adopted in 2018-2019, and 164 children in 2020-2022 to 6 in 2023, Kuznetsova said at the parliamentary season last month. In 2024, this process was stopped completely, she told the Telegram channel Duma TV on Wednesday. We will take care of our children ourselves. Today we see that the number of our citizens who want to take a foster child into their family is growing, their lawmaker stated. She emphasized their need to strengthen work that will with their biological relatives of those children to prevent them from entering their foster care system in the first place, which is right approach, obviously. I mean, if unfortunately some parents decide that they cannot raise the kids, I don't understand how that is happening, how they can drop their kids in the foster care institutions, but it happens worldwide, isn't it? And it is only right, first of all, to make sure that relatives of those kids will take care of them, and if not, then obviously there are many people here in Russia that are willing to adopt kids and raise them as their own. So good news, I will say, good news for sure. Russian kids should be raised in Russia. That will be more safe for them. I'm quite sure about it. RIA Novosti is reporting that Trump is no longer planning to have debates with Kamala Harris, especially after her interview with her recent interview with her ABC, when she claimed that she don't have any issues with Biden's policies. So therefore, Trump stated that there is no point to have any debate with Kamala Harris in that case. Okay. Trump is, according to latest social studies, Trump is leading in this presidential race, and maybe his camp is thinking that there is not really any need for additional publicity that debates might bring to the Trump. Anyways, that's the news. Trump. There will be no more debates between the Trump and Harris. I did not watch first debate, and I would not watch second one either. I just, me personally, I'm not interested. But obviously, many people worldwide would watch these debates. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that new Bank of Development of BRICS accepted applications of the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Algeria, which is a big deal, by the way. Obviously, this new development bank of BRICS is definitely becoming institution which may play crucial role or significant role in developing of this alternative financial and banking system that is so needed for this world, and also to help BRICS member states and countries that are planning to become members of the BRICS to overcome some financial and economical difficulties. So good for this bank and good for BRICS, obviously. This is a big deal. And also, Kommersant newspaper is reporting that over 1 million people in Florida are left without electricity due to Hurricane Milton. Unfortunately, there was reports about at least several people being killed as a result of this hurricane. Significant number of residential areas were damaged. In some cases, buildings were totally destroyed. Although it is, of course, for now early to say exactly to to assess exact level of damage that this hurricane bring to the Florida. But as I understand, local authorities did quite a good job to evacuate as many people from coastal areas as possible, and hopefully casualty numbers will be as low as it can be. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Foreign Minister of Hungary arrived in St. Petersburg, and the main topic of his visit is to negotiate with the Russian side future supplies of gas to Hungary. I guess, despite all the attempts of Brussels and their proxies in the key regime to kind of isolate Hungary, Slovakia, some other EU member states from cooperating with Russia and Russian energy companies or Russian businesses, hopefully sides will find out the ways to continue the cooperation. After all, if Hungary would not be able to receive gas, let's say from a pipeline that goes through Ukraine, and most likely that will be the case after this year will end, because Kiev stated that they will not prolong a contract with the Gazprom, then I guess Russia will supply European states that are willing to cooperate with Russia, with Russian companies. Through, Russia will supply them with their energy through Turk Stream or Southern Stream, as some call it, and some other means with LNG, for example. But I'm quite sure solution will be found to make sure that European countries that are, that are strong enough and are able to withstand the Western pressure of the Western ruling class will have opportunity to receive relatively cheap Russian energy sources, relatively cheap compared to Norwegian gas, for example, or gas from US or LNG from US. And same can be said about oil and oil products, obviously, also. And I will end this update with this news that nuclear artificial sun mega project grows with the Russian involvement. Russian energy giant Rosatom is extending its participation in a global nuclear fusion mega project currently being developed in southern France. Their company's CEO Alexei Likhachov has stated the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor project, also called the world's largest artificial sun, is being developed jointly by the companies from China, EU, India, Japan, South Korea, Russia, and the US. The project's goal is to create a safe and almost limitless supply of electricity. On Tuesday, Likhachov held a meeting with the project's Director General Pietro Barabacci, who had arrived in Russia on a work visit. They discussed issues related to Russia's fulfillment of its obligations to manufacture and supply equipment. We are grateful to their ITER leadership, which is demonstrating not just a fair and honest position, but is also keenly engaged and expanding Russia's participation in the project, Likhachov told their journalists following a meeting which took place at Rosatom headquarters in Moscow. In turn, Barbashi described their discussion as a very productive, saying that after some difficulties, we are getting now again on a track. We have a new plan ahead. Russia's contribution, like that of all other ITER members, is very important, demonstrating a common commitment to their development of fusion energy that will exist for the benefit of the entire world. Their contribution covers all areas from critical components to key technological innovations, ITER's Director General stressed. And well, it is obviously good that Russian scientists, Russian engineers are participating in this project. It is good in one hand, but in other hand, when I was reading this news, I remember information that I reported about also several times in previous updates, that Russian scientists are about to be expelled from Switzerland, for example, from CERN project, which is a big hadron collider project, and you know, I don't know how safe these Russian investments in this French project now, formally international project, but one that is built in France, will be. I will not be surprised at all if once this project is finalized, once Russia will supply all this project with all their equipment and technology, I will not be surprised at all if Western ruling class will expel Russian scientists also to have access to their to the project. And therefore, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical of about this information. I don't know, is it good or bad at this point? If there was any guarantees that Russian scientists would not be expelled, then I'm all for cooperation, right? But after expelling Russian scientists from Switzerland, then I mean, how can you trust? That's the issue, you know. How can you trust Western political class or Western scientific class that is clearly under heavy control of this political class? How can you trust them? I don't know. I just don't know. But there we go. That's the information, dear friends, that Russian Rosatom is participating in this mega project to build this thermonuclear experimental reactor, fusion reactor, basically. Okay, if there is any concrete guarantees in place that Russian scientists would not be expelled, or Russia will always have access to this project as one of their key participants, well, okay. But if there is no such guarantees in place, then why Russian Rosatom is cooperating with them? I don't know. I don't know. We have example of CERN, isn't it? Anyways, you share your opinion, dear friends. What you think? As I said, man, I'm all for cooperation and all for keeping ties in every way possible between the scientists, engineers, between the people of the Russia and the collective West. But yet again, they have, when it comes to a large scale investments of money and large scale investments of in terms of technology and intellectual property, then definitely some guarantees need to be in place. And the question is, how can you trust Western ruling class, man? At this point, I would not be able to do so. I mean, I can tell you that if it was up to me, I would not be able to trust anybody from the Western ruling class and from any institution from the West that is obviously under heavy control of this political class. I guess the leadership of Rosatom is more optimistic in this regard than I am. Anyways, this is it for this relatively short update. Hopefully you will find it informative and interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, and share information about my channel with your friends. As you can notice, dear friends, especially YouTube's algorithm is crushing my videos, especially some last several days. But yet again, what you're gonna do about it? Isn't it? The only way we can try and influence this situation is your support, your likes and comments. And dear friends, if you like my work and if you want to support financially, you can do it through donations with the PayPal or Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.